In the realm of myths and legends, there are tales of ancient men who possessed extraordinary skills and powers. One such tale tells the story of an ancient man who slept beside his prey. This enigmatic figure roamed the wilderness, living in harmony with nature and displaying an intimate connection with the animals that inhabited the forest. But who was this mysterious man? What secrets did he hold? And how did he survive in the unforgiving wilderness? Join us as we delve into the fascinating story of the ancient man who slept beside his prey. He was known by no name, carved no symbols, and spoke to no one. Yet the forest knew him. The ground softened beneath his steps. Birds paused mid-flight when he passed. He wasn't a hunter, not exactly. He was something older, something the jungle hadn't seen in centuries. He never killed in haste. He tracked without sound. And when he finally found his prey, he didn't strike. Nightfall would descend over roots, vines, and the rhythm of breath between two beings, man and beast. A stag lay trembling, wounded beneath the stars. But instead of death, it was met with stillness. The man lay beside it, silent, watching, waiting. Not for the animal to weaken, but for the jungle to decide. He believed the prey must first surrender its fear. Only then, he said without words, was the spirit free. His arrows stayed sheathed. His fire never roared. Time became ritual, not tool. He shared warmth with his target, not dominance. Understanding. Some say he once laid beside a tiger days without sleep. Hunger clawed at his ribs. But the animal bled from a deep thorn wound. The man removed it. Pressed herbs, waited. The tiger lived, walked away, never attacked. The villagers whispered he had become part of the wild, not ruled by hunger, but guided by respect. When he did take life, it was after this ritual bond, after he had honored its breath, shared its pain. No beast ever ran from him. They approached. No trophies were taken. No bones hung from trees. Only memories etched into leaves where predator and prey once slept side by side. He taught nothing, spoke nothing, but his way taught more than words ever could about patience, empathy, and the power of stillness. In a world obsessed with conquest, he chose connection. This is not legend. This is how survival once looked before tools, weapons, and noise replaced instinct. Before man feared what he couldn't understand. If the silence of this story stirred something inside you, something ancient, something truth, then take a breath, honor it, and like, comment, and subscribe to The Forgotten Path, where the oldest truths still echo. His skin, the color of earth after rain, was adorned with markings that told stories of the forest itself. Vines and leaves traced across his chest, each marking a memory, a hunt, a lesson learned from the whispering woods. Unlike the hunters of his time who reveled in strength and speed, he moved with the quiet grace of a phantom. No animal, however swift, could escape his pursuit. Not because he was faster, but because the forest seemed to guide his every step. Many wondered about the man's origins. Some believed he'd always been there, a spirit of the wild given human form. Others claimed he came from beyond the mountains, driven by a wisdom older than the spoken word. Truth be told, he was both and neither. For he was a man of the past, a hunter of the forgotten ways, a master of the primal arts. As seasons painted the landscape in hues of gold and crimson, our nameless hero tracked his prey. A deer, its legs shattered by a hunter's snare, lay trapped in suffering. While others might have ended its misery swiftly, he saw an opportunity to teach. He freed the deer from the snare, not to let it run, but to keep it captive in a different way. Days turned into nights as he sat beside the deer, sharing his fire, his food, and most importantly, his silence. The deer, initially fearful, gradually began to understand. It sensed no threat from the man. It felt only his quiet empathy. Finally, when the deer's wounds healed, it was a changed creature. It approached the man willingly, nuzzling his hand before vanishing into the woods. The man smiled, a rare sight, and the forest echoed with his joy. Word spread among the villagers about the strange man who befriended animals. Some dismissed it as fantasy, while others, their hearts heavy with admiration, prepared to meet him. When they finally found him, he was tending to a small fire, his eyes closed in peaceful meditation. As they approached, he opened his eyes, their depths holding ancient wisdom. Without a word, he gestured for them to sit around the fire. and as the flames danced before their eyes, he began to speak. His voice was like the rustling of leaves, carrying the scent of moss and wild herbs. He spoke of a time before written laws, when men lived in harmony with nature, understanding the language of the wild. He told them of his friendship with the great stag, Molten Horn, who carried the secrets of the forest in his eyes. How he had learned patience from the stag's silent grace and courage from its willingness to face any danger. He spoke of the Black Panther, Silent Claw, who taught him the value of stillness and the power of a focused mind. He shared these stories not to boast, but to awaken a forgotten way of life. He wanted to remind them of a time when humans weren't separate from nature, but an integral part of it. But as the night deepened, the villagers began to stir uneasily. Their minds struggled to grasp the man's tales, and fear crept into their hearts. They couldn't comprehend a world where humans and animals coexisted peacefully. It sounded like a fairy tale, a distant memory that had no place in their reality. The man sensed their unease and fell silent. The crackling fire now seemed to mock their ignorance, and the shadows around them writhed with unspoken fears. He looked into their eyes, trying to convey the serenity he'd found in the wild, but their confusion was too deep. Finally, he stood up, his tall figure casting an imposing shadow. Without another word, he turned and walked away, disappearing into the darkness. The villagers watched him go, his receding form carrying the weight of a forgotten wisdom. When the sun rose, painting the sky in hues of hope, the villagers emerged from their homes. The previous night's unease had vanished, replaced by a desperate curiosity. They searched for the man, eager to hear more of his tales, to understand the bond he shared with the animals. But he was gone. All that remained was a faint imprint of his presence, like the memory of a dream. They found signs of his encampment, a small fire pit, and the faint outline of his body imprinted on the soft earth. It was as if he had never been there, yet his absence left an echoing void. They scoured the forest, calling out his name, or perhaps the name they thought he had. But only the wind answered, rustling through the leaves as if sharing a secret it didn't want to reveal.
Hey!
The villagers returned home empty-handed, their questions unanswered. Days turned into weeks, yet the memory of the man lingered. He had awakened a longing for a simpler, more profound way of life. They couldn't understand his connection with the wild, but it stirred something deep within them. A forgotten chord resonating with the rhythm of the wild. One by one, they began to venture into the woods, not as conquerors, but as seekers. They walked softly, listening to the whispers of the trees, hoping to catch a glimpse of the man, or perhaps a fleeting moment of the peace he de-embodied. As the years passed, the villagers' obsession with the man grew. They built shrines in his honor, adorning them with offerings of berries and flowers. They didn't know if he'd return, but their devotion to his memory kept their spirits alive. And so the tale of the ancient man who slept beside his prey continued to echo through the ages, a testament to a forgotten harmony between humanity and the natural world. What did you think of the story? Share your thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe for more updates.